This video is a collection of 7 more rules for life, gathered from Jordan Peterson's books and lectures, and perhaps even more importantly, his influencers' books, mainly Carl Jung and Nietzsche. These are the 7 rules. Rule number 1, to build your ideal destiny, consistently build and nurture the best habits. Rule number 2, be alert and train your focus. Where attention goes, action flows. Rule number 3, love your fate and your life and others. This is the highest path life has to offer, and it unlocks every good gift. Rule number 4, the Leviathan of the deep holds the Magnum Opus of your life, but you can take it. Rule number 5, know the symbols and archetypes to understand the way the world works, to individuate, and to help others do the same. Rule number 6, ask, seek, knock. Proper prayer from a psychological standpoint is practically a superpower. And rule number 7, heaven is useless without bringing it to earth. Unite the opposites. Let's start with rule number 1. To build your ideal destiny, consistently build and nurture the best habits. Understanding what I call the hierarchy of fate has been one of the most eye-opening experiences I've ever had. It goes something like this. Watch your thoughts, they become your words. Watch your words, they become your actions. Watch your actions, they become your habits. Watch your habits, they become your character. Watch your character, it becomes your destiny. In a similar thread of thought, Nietzsche wrote, I was in darkness, but I took 3 steps and found myself in paradise. The first step was a good thought. The second, a good word. And the third, a good deed. And to take that a couple steps further, if you carry out good deeds consistently, you build habits, which form your character, which becomes your destiny. The amazing thing is, if you want to build your ideal life, all you have to do is reverse engineer that proverb, starting by deciding the destiny you want, then working backward until you figure out the thoughts you need to have to inspire the right words, and what the right words are to create the habits that'll serve as the foundation and pillars of the character you know you must have to create your ideal destiny. Carl Jung said, until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life and you will call it fate. Or at least that's what people say he says. We'll get into that more later. An implication here is that you can control your destiny, but if you fail to take proper action, the destiny you could create becomes an uncontrollable fate. We'll also delve into the process of venturing into the dark forest of the unconscious in rule number 4, but for now, let's focus on the final building block to your ideal life: habit and routine. Nietzsche said, the most unendurable thing, to be sure, the really terrible thing, would be a life without habits. A life which continually required improvisation. He understood the importance of habits, how the habits we create ultimately shape our destiny. He took great joy in his short-term habits, although he saw long-term habits as joy-sucking tyrants. Something I don't completely understand, since long-term habits like your career or even the actions you take in your relationships, for example, seem to add up to some of the greatest rewards life has to offer if you go about them in the right way. I'm guessing there's something lost in translation there, and it's probably more of a temperament thing than anything. I'll leave it at this. The day you begin to build habits at will is the day you wrestle your life out of the wrinkled hands of the fates and begin to transmute your own destiny. Like an alchemist transmuting stone into gold, you're transmuting what seems like small, insignificant habits into a golden mountain of life goals, bucket lists, and ultimately, your dream life. And here's a quick side note. The most glorious, fulfilling things in life come at a severe cost. The habits we create to achieve those things require their weight in blood, tears, and raw effort. But even the most excruciating habits can become pleasing to us, according to Nietzsche. He said, we become aware, however, that all customs, even the hardest, grow pleasanter and milder with time, and that the severest way of life may become a habit and therefore a pleasure. He also said, every habit makes our hand more witty and our wit more handy. That's It's one of my favorite quotes of his. Last but not least, Jordan Peterson often encourages people to take on the most responsibility they can manage. He says, and then you think, well, what's the barrier? Are you willing to accept the responsibility? And part of the answer to that is reduce the damn responsibility until it's tolerable. You don't have to fix everything at once. You could do it with even less self-sacrifice. You could start by fixing only the things that you want to fix. That's how to build even the most monumentally powerful habits. Start with the smallest piece of the habit you can manage, and slowly but surely work your way up to the complete habit in all its glory. Rule number 2, be alert and train your focus. Where attention goes, action flows. The Egyptians and ancient Mesopotamians alike revered and worshipped the eye. And they worshipped the eye because they knew the eye was the thing that paid attention. Along with the ability to speak, the eye, or attention, was the highest ideal. As you could see in the Egyptian god Horus, we all know about the eye of Horus, and there's also the eyes of Ra, which are the sun and moon, both of which shed light on the whole of creation. And there's also the Mesopotamian god Marduk, who had eyes all the way around his head and spoke magical words. As you pursue the things that guide your attention, that's your interest, by the way, more and more information is revealed and you absorb that information. And that's learning in a nutshell. You transform into a completely different person. You become a stronger and more knowledgeable person and even a wiser person with more integrity and strength and a better understanding of where you should go with your life. You begin to uncover more and more of what the true reality of the world is. You're living increasingly in the real world. Now, as you complete goal after goal, the things you learn along the way transform you and also the nature of your goals, and new revelations shine forth. This is what seek and you shall find means, at least in part. And this may be the best part. As you seek, you find. Not only new information and the actualization of your goals, aka knock and the door will be opened, but meaning itself. And you know when you've found meaning when you're doing something you're interested in and you're engaged. You feel alive. Time flows by like it was never there to begin with, and an hour becomes a minute. That's when life is worth it. It's worth everything in those beautiful moments of pure, unrestrained meaning. In those moments, you're like the Egyptian heron, who fishes in the waters of chaos but walks on land and transcends both by flying through the heavens. You have one foot in chaos and the other in order, and you've found that fleeting balance of perfection, of meaning. You know that feeling, and it's good to not only know that feeling, but to pay attention to where you are and what you're doing each and every time you get that feeling of meaning. Because that little spark of joy or inspiration or motivation or passion or whatever you want to call it is yourself, in the Jungian sense, guiding you from the depths. This is what people mean when they say, listen to your heart. It's cliche for a reason. It's wisdom that's been repeated so often, people stop hearing it properly. And there you have it. That's why paying attention and guiding your focus is as powerful as speaking and writing well, or at least close to it. Remember the hierarchy of fate. Watch your thoughts, they become your words. Watch your words because they become your actions. Watch your actions because they become your habits. Watch your habits, they become your character. And watch your character because it becomes your destiny. Action flows where your attention goes. If you train your focus, in part by listening to the feeling of pure interest, to stay glued to nothing but the things that bring you the fate you desire, your actions will naturally flow into building the habits and routines that serve as the foundations and pillars of that vision and final life outcome.